I want to start by saying these are my personal opinions as a person who is in the sports commercial space. And it's just as it's an unfolding topic, therefore, I just want to input my voice into it as something that I have definitely concerns and the positives of what this type of decision can bring forth. Now, this is in regards to SportPesa buying in the naming rights of the Kenya Premier League, which officially is now called the SportPesa League. Now, without looking at what these three entities actually signed in a contract, and that is the Kenya Football Federation, the Kenya Premier League Limited, and SportPesa, I'm not sure what type of agreements they came into. But when it comes to something like a naming sponsor, then I do have maybe a bit of concerns. Now, most of times my concerns are not really much on what the federation requires. That's not my thing. And of course, SportPesa is there to make money. So also not much of a concern for me on that end. My main focus will be with the 18 teams that form the Kenya Premier League Limited. Now, when we look at a title sponsor and what that comes with, it's a very major bulk buy-in. And for commercially, I can see why SportPesa went for this. But what is it? What are the challenges that these individual teams are facing at the moment? Number one, I believe they're going to face limited negotiating power. We have companies that will not work with betting firms. We know this. SportPesa is a betting company. And so definitely these teams are going to be seeing limited access to some of the companies that would initially pay into it, but because they don't do the betting situation, they may stand back. But at the same time, we are looking at these 18 teams being in a position of where they may actually one team may get a really good sponsor, but SportPesa being the naming right people, they say, no, this is going to be a conflict with us, or we cannot be in the same place with this team. I'm sorry, but you might have to change that. And we might have to see teams changing some of their sponsor rights because they're going to be forced to align with what SportPesa and the federation needs. What do those challenges look like? We have several teams in the Premier League that actually have other betting companies as their sponsors. We have Gor Mahia, which has SportPesa, so I'm not even sure if that's going to be a conflict of interest right now. We have APS Bomet FC that has WR Bet. We also have AFC Leopards that has Betika. Now, what is SportPesa as a title sponsor comes and says, hey, we don't want any other betting company sponsoring a team in our Premier League. It means these guys are going to be losing a lot of money from their title sponsorships. Will that be fair? Probably not, but it comes as a risk when you take on a title sponsor that's a betting firm. And we all know betting companies at the moment are the ones that are actually making money. And also at the same time, we are looking at reputation and financial risk. What do I mean by this? We've seen SportPesa go through the reigns the last couple of years in Kenya. They lost their name. It's like political situation. But not only that, on the global spectrum, we have seen public backlash when it comes to betting companies, and also these current conversations amongst many countries to actually ban betting firms for social reasons. Others have discussed stricter regulations. Now, if it becomes a global decision of where betting companies are going to be officially banned from all countries or anything to do with sports and especially football, Kenya is going to suffer. Kenya Premier League is going to suffer from that. Because what will be this? First of all, they're going to be having a terrible brand risk because, again, you just named it, SportPesa League. And so there is no coming back from that. So you have to scratch and start over. At the same time, we are looking at loss of revenue. Again, it's not a lot of revenue if you think about it, because looking at 1.2 billion Kenya shillings over a period of 10 years, and what is actually going into the 18 teams, it's basically shy over 2 million Kenya shillings per year. Now, that's not a lot of money. Because if you look at Gor Mahia, when they were talking about their financial expenditure per year, they were looking at 64 to 100 million per year. And if that is their current expenditure, then clearly 2.2 million Kenya shillings is cheap change to them. So again, why was even this a decision that was made? I do not know. Another thing we are looking at is limited revenue growth, right? Because 1.2 billion again in a period of 10 years. If you're looking at inflation, you're looking at market growth. Is this money supposed to be growing throughout the years? Like between now and the next 10 years, is it going to be 2 million now and then grow all the way to about 15 million maybe in 5 years? Or is it a stagnant amount? Again, I may not know that this depends again on the contracts that they've signed. But if you're working as if it's not growing, then the clubs are actually risking diversifying their revenue stream, like merchandising, new sponsors, and broadcast deals. Because all of this is currently now being owned by SportPesa. And then also, because I do not know what they signed, I kind of want to know who currently owns their international media rights, who currently owns digital and social media content, who currently owns commercial and sponsorship rights, intellectual property, player-related rights. I would like to know that, because then now we get to understand, is this going to be owned by individual clubs? Is this owned by the federation still? And if it's owned by the federation, does that mean SportPesa owns all these rights collectively? At the moment, our digital rights belong to Azam, a terrible deal that was done by the previous administration, but it's gonna last a period of time. So now we also have to understand that once this deal with Azam is over, who's negotiating the new deal and with who? At the end of the day, this deal isn't much about money, as much as it's very little money the teams are getting. It's about the freedoms of the individual teams and the resilience of Kenyan clubs and what the Kenyan clubs are actually going to give up in the long run. 10 years is a lot of time. 10 years is a lot of time to be able to get an opportunity of where you can consider whether or not you can grow or you cannot grow. Are you stagnant? Are you able to get better sponsorship? Are you able to grow as a main company or not? Because at the end of the day, this is a business deal. And the business deal should mostly impact the Kenya Premier League Limited more than it impacts the federation and SportPesa. And so I would love to see how this goes. But so far, I am on I do not know why anybody sat down and made this deal. But let's see how it grows. Let's see how it continues. Cheers.